What was supposed to be a night of celebration turned into disaster after 4 friends who were all drunk left the bar in the city without a designated driver. Designate a driver. Don't drink and drive.
This is your News Source Evening Bulletin for today, Friday the 3rd day of January in the year 2025. I'm Svetlana Marshall with the latest. Opposition leader Aubrey Norton today said he will not be registering for the government's $100,000 cash grant because of the way the process has been handled, specifically as it relates to pensioners and public servants who had to join long lines to register for and later uplift the grant. At a press conference today, Mr. Norton said the process to register for the grant and uplift the money is embarrassing and inhumane.
I do not believe that it made sense for you to do another registration. And I was at Parliament when they were registering people, and I refused to register. Even though Ashni Singh had already said, if you don't register, you can't get it. They can take it and put it where Paddy put the nuts. I do not believe that the indignity, the lack of care for our pensioners was necessary. And I believe as a form of demonstration, my refusal, I didn't want to carry out a campaign against it because this government has put so much people in poverty that they need the 100,000. But I felt in my position, I should not be part of the masquerade, part of the embarrassment and disrespect to people in this country, have them lining up and running wrong.
The opposition leader said he believes pensioners and public servants should have been paid through the banking system, which would have significantly made the process easier for persons who do not fall within those categories.
Those outside of that system could have been paid differently by check. And what that means, you would have reduced the burden on the system, because those who are being paid through the normal system, like your pension, what stopped the government from producing the same slip for pensioners and deliver it to them so that the post office that they normally go to, they can go and get it, in which there'll be a smaller crowd.
The opposition leader said he supports the cash grant itself fully and believes that it should be a regular feature, but said using the process and turning it into a political one defeats the purpose of the grant.
Cash grant in itself is not a problem. If properly dealt with, it will help the Guyanese. Of course, the amount they give is inadequate. But the government also plays politics with everything. And I think they wanted to use the opportunity, the cash grant, to get a database to use by the PPP in the upcoming election. And so they put people through all this thing of going and register, etc. Having done that, they couldn't now rely on the government system, which they should have relied on.
Thousands of citizens, particularly pensioners and public servants, have already received the grant, while registration is ongoing in some regions. In a number of other regions, the registration process is still to begin.
It all starts with one. Maybe it's one look, you know the one, or one touch, even one word. I can start with one step, or one promise, one thrill, one first time, one deep breath, one leap of faith, one day to remember, or one night to forget. One moment, so many stories that make up one crazy, average, everyday, fabulous life. We get one life, just one. Make your move. It all starts with one.
is so much more than just four walls, floors, and ceilings. It's a lifetime of great memories and stories. Come talk to us and start your journey home today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Honey, what are you doing? Let's cash out. Let's cash out.
Shop $5,000 or more at any Massey stores for a chance to win a 2024 Nissan Qashqai Sense and $100,000 every 2 weeks with Massey Stores Christmas Jackpot Promotion.
This Saturday, the biggest old school party in the Caribbean goes down inside the National Stadium. Flashback Old School Party featuring Billy Slaughter, Steely Bashment, and the return of King Eddie's, plus a top-tier lineup of local DJs. Flashback Old School Party, hosted by OC Dread. Gates open at 6 p.m. General tickets $4,000, VIP $15,000, VVIP $80,000. Tickets available now at your usual ticket outlet. Flashback Old School Party this Saturday at the Guyana National Stadium, powered by Guinness. Premier Promotions, The Sheriff Entertainment, and Team Rodney presents Day One, featuring Governor, live from Jamaica.
Yo, shut your mouth with a little bit of money.
Sure, wanna star, yo, I know every girl fit me.
Governor at Flashback Washdown, Aziza Akusa Creek, outside Splashmans, Sunday 5th January. Also featuring Quelly Ranks at Oosh Boss, Bobby Cush and Jerome, Slingers Family, Notorious International, and Green Downs. Day One, Flashback Washdown, featuring Governor, live.
Girl, you have a cute and a little.
Gates open at 9 a.m. Admission easy. Sponsored by Crowns Auto Nation, Extra Beer, Fireside Grill, and Rodney's Court. Day One.
With the manual distribution of the $100,000 cash grant proving to be an uphill task, with many persons being forced to stand in line for hours, Vice President Jagdeo has indicated that future grants will be dispersed directly to bank accounts. At a 3-hour-long press conference on Thursday, the Vice President said the government would rely heavily on the incoming National Electronic Identification Card (EID) system to facilitate the transfers. The implementation of that system, however, is facing extensive delays.
We are hoping with the enhanced biometrics, we'd be able to allow a significant growth of mobile money, online banking. We would encourage every Guyanese to then have an account. So then it's easy when you can verify, because you have solid biometrics now, that people are alive and well and they're resident in Guyana. And well, in this case, even the residency wouldn't have been an issue. Then we'll be able maybe to deposit directly in their accounts.
He said the use of banks would allow for a more effective and efficient distribution of the cash grant and would address many of the challenges currently being experienced in the ongoing registration and distribution exercise for the grant.
It'd be the easiest thing for us to do, to give payment instructions to the bank, and they deposit in everybody's account. All the people.
He said registration in a number of other areas are set to begin soon.
And I'm sorry for what took place in New Amsterdam. It should have never happened. We made it clear that we haven't started the registration in the 5 remaining areas. In the new year, just in the next couple of weeks' time or a week's time, we'll start in the regions 2, 3, 5, 6, and 10.
The distribution of the $100,000 cash grant for pensioners and public servants got off a chaotic start in December, with thousands of persons, including teachers and pensioners, flocking distribution sites.
We'll be opening up an office in every NDC and 2 in Georgetown to continue registering people. So you will be able to register if you miss.
According to him, within weeks, registration for the cash grants in Regions 2, 3, 5, 6, and 10 will commence. Of the more than 370,000 persons already registered for the cash grant, the government has said more than 100,000 have already collected their money. The leader of the Alliance for Change, Hughes, today declared his full support for any person who may want to seek political office in Guyana, saying it will give people more options and broaden political participation across the country. At a press conference yesterday, Mr. Jagdeo was asked about an apparent signal by businessman Azruddin Mohammed that he intends to contest the next elections. In response, Mr. Jagdeo said any person can run for office here, but warned that they will be subject to intense scrutiny of their affairs and dealings. At a press conference today, the AFC leader said Mr. Jagdeo's utterances appear to be an indirect threat to Mr. Mohammed to keep him out of the political scene. He said persons who have political ambitions must not and should not be chased away by the PPP.
We believe in this country, any citizen who wants to run for office should run for office and should never be threatened, whether by some veil or expressly. And therefore, those persons who have, might I say, attracted the wrath of the fourth-term president recently and who have been threatened with scrutiny in the case of Mr. Campbell and more recently in the case of Mr. Azruddin Mohammed, we believe that a strong statement should be made by all political parties and the civil society that the more people we have in the political race broadens the range of options for the citizenry.
Hughes told the media that the PPP has got a long history of going after its political opponents and to settle political scores. He said Jagdeo's tactics are from an old PPP playbook where people are threatened with their tax records and other things to keep them away from politics.
For whatever reason, people may or may not dislike the candidates who may be considering entering. They should not be deterred by veiled threats coming from offices as high as the vice president that they will be subject to scrutiny. And therefore, in the circumstances, we reject any attempt by the government to put pressure on persons who may be considering. It is not lost on this population that the message that's being sent both in the case of Terence Campbell and in the case of Mr. Mohammed, and perhaps more recently in the case of Mr. Lal, is that it is intended as a warning to anybody who dares to threaten the People's Progressive Party while in office, that they have to be careful because they will be, quote unquote.
The leader of the Alliance for Change said if Guyana is to build a modern democratic society, then people must be free to exercise their political right of participation, particularly if the person appears to be popular and has ideas that could be useful for nation building.
GECOM is currently conducting a claims and objections exercise to produce an official list of electors OLE. GECOM has posted the preliminary list of electors PLE in all of the registration divisions across Guyana for you to check if you are listed and, if so, whether your particulars are accurate.
If you were 18 years or over on December 31, 2024,
and you are a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent or naturalization, or a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more, you are eligible for inclusion in the OLE. If you are eligible for inclusion in the OLE, you are required to apply for registration if your name is not in the PLE, apply for a transfer if you have changed your address since you were registered, apply for a name change if you have changed your name, or apply for a correction if your registration particulars are incorrect. Any person whose information on the PLE is incorrect can apply for such information to be changed or corrected. Any person applying for a change or correction to his or her particulars must provide the relevant original source document, birth certificate and a deed poll for a name change by deed poll, marriage certificate and ID card for a name change by marriage, divorce absolute in the case of a woman who is desirous of reverting to her maiden name from her married name, birth certificate, adoption certificate, naturalization certificate for a correction of minor clerical errors.
Visit the GECOM registration office responsible for your area of residence to conduct any of the above transactions.
The claims aspect of this exercise will end on Wednesday, 15th January 2025. For further information, contact GECOM at 225-027829 or visit our website at www.gecom.org.gy.
Your own home is so much more than just four walls, floors, and ceilings. It's a lifetime of great memories and stories. Come talk to us and start your journey home today.
Republic Bank. We're the one for you.
Bust the flavors. We're full of flavors. Bust the flavors that me crave for. We're full of flavors. Tell your neighbors about the bust the flavors. Grab a bust the flavors. Yeah, thirst buster. Grab a buster. Bust the flavor, taste the savor. Bust the flavors. Bust the flavors.
Premier Promotions, the Sheriff Entertainment, and Team Rodney presents Day One, featuring Governor, live from Jamaica.
Yo, shut your mouth with a little bit of money.
Sure, man a star, yo, I know every girl fit me.
Governor at Flashback Washdown, Aziza Akusa Creek, outside Splashmans, Sunday, 5th January. Also featuring Quelly Ranks and Oosh Boss, Bobby Cush and Jerome, Slingers Family, Notorious International, and Green Downs. Day One, Flashback Washdown, featuring Governor, live.
Girl, you have a cute and a little.
Gates open at 9 a.m. Admission easy. Sponsored by Crowns Auto Nation, Extra Beer, Fireside Grill, and Rodney's Court. Day One.
Let's tell you now that the Ministry of Housing has announced that it was able to surpass expectations and allocate a total of 10,791 house lots in 2024. Housing Minister Colin Crowell told reporters today that when commercial lots are included, the Central Housing and Planning Authority was able to allocate more than 11,000 lots in total. Regions 3 and 4, which are the regions with the largest number of applicants, accounted for the majority of the allocations.
61% of the allocations were done for Region 4, and 22% of those allocations were done for Region number 3. And those are our two largest regions. So by regions, therefore, 2% for Region 2, 5% for Region 5, 5% for Region 6, another 2% on Region 9, and 4% on Region 10.
Minister Crowell said close to 50% of the more than 10,000 house lots allocated in 2024 were made to women, while young adults 35 years and younger accounted for 53% of the allocations.
Our analysis of the allocations that were done will show that 46% of those allocations were done to females. Let me repeat. 46% of the allocations were to females, and I'm not talking about joint applicants. The joint applicants is actually 26%. And so obviously by subtraction, your male allocations was 28% of the applicants.
The 10,791 allocations made in 2024 have brought the total number of house lots distributed since 2020 to approximately 40,290.
In terms of the allocations, if one was to look at the categories, because what we normally have is identified in low income, moderate, middle, high. So if one was to look below middle income, which would be between low and moderate, 72% of that 40,000 plus were from below the middle income bracket. In fact, low income is 43%.
Minister Kroll said, in order to achieve its targets, the Ministry of Housing and Water through CHNPA has been expanding its housing program to expand existing housing schemes and create new ones. Since 2020, a total of 75 new housing schemes were developed, with 19 of those being developed in the last year. As the Ministry of Housing and Water continues to develop new and existing areas, Minister Kroll is confident in CHNPA's ability to surpass the target of allocating a total of 50,000 house lots by the end of 2025. Vice President Jagdeo foresees no major delays in the completion of the new Demerara River Bridge, although he could not provide a new completion timeline. The completion date for the bridge was set for March 2025. However, President Inhumane has indicated a much later timeline that could push the completion date to the final quarter of this year. At a press conference on Thursday, Mr. Jagdeo said any delay in meeting the timeline would be minimal.
If there are delays, it could be associated with the late handing over of some parts of the site. You know, there are parts of the site that we did not hand over in time, but I don't think there is it's about 8 months delay or something like that in the project.
He said whether or not there are delays, the government should be commended for embarking on the bridge project, noting that the new bridge would enormously enhance the lives of persons who commute between regions 3 and 4. The deadline for the completion of the US $260 million Demerara River Bridge has already been pushed back owing to logistical and other challenges. Works Minister Juan Edgil had explained that the government was initially anticipating completion of the project by the end of 2024, but the completion date was revised because of procurement challenges. A new completion date was set for March 2025, and the Works Minister has since indicated that an August 2025 completion date appears now to be more likely. The opposition People's National Congress Reform today urged the Guyana Elections Commission GECOM to begin swiftly examining the implementation of fingerprint biometrics in time for the next general and regional elections, which are scheduled for this year. PNC Reform and opposition leader Aubrey Norton today told reporters that it has been 2 months since the chief elections officer Vishnu Prasad received a feasibility study on the use of electronic fingerprint biometrics for registration and voting in the next elections. Mr. Norton said the study concluded that the use of biometrics technology in Guyana would provide more robust protection and safeguards against voter impersonation, multiple voting, and electoral manipulation.
There's no reason why we shouldn't get biometrics. No reason whatsoever. If Ghana can do 17 million people in under 2 months, why can Guyana do it with 750,000? The only reason we might not be able to do it is because of the incompetence of the government. But I believe if they give GECOM the resources and allow it to operate independently, they can deliver on biometrics with the assistance of specialists from overseas.
Norton said the chairperson of the Elections Commission, Claudette Singh, has an obligation to guarantee free and fair elections and to set the groundwork for that to take place. He said the fact that the government boasted of registering hundreds of thousands of citizens in a short period of time for the cash grant demonstrates that similar could be done for the purpose of elections.
Just point out that implementation time could be shortened without compromising quality by, for instance, one, conducting several processes in parallel, such as training of staff in tandem with the conduct of public education. Two, purchasing a large volume of biometric kits and employing a large body of field staff. Costs should be no hindrance here. Three, as new ID cards would not be critical at this stage, time need not be devoted to their production and distribution. These processes could occur after the elections. And four, the lessons and experiences of other countries could be used to avoid difficulties and to adopt best practices.
Mr. Norton said with the clock ticking and time inching closer for general elections, the Elections Commission must urgently make a decision on the way forward.
GECOM is currently conducting a claims and objections exercise to produce an official list of electors OLE. If you were 18 years or over on December 31, 2024,
and you are a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, or naturalization, or a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more, you are eligible for inclusion in the OLE. GECOM has posted the preliminary list of electors PLE in all of the registration divisions across Guyana for you to check if you are listed, and if so, whether your particulars are accurate. You can make a claim for registration, change or correction to your particulars, or you can object to the inclusion of anyone who you believe should not be on the list. If you are desirous of making a claim or objection, you must visit the GECOM registration office responsible for your area of residence to do so. Visit the GECOM registration office responsible for your area of residence to conduct any of the above transactions. Opening hours. All GECOM registration offices will be open Mondays to Fridays from 8 hours to 18 hours, Saturdays and Sundays from 10 hours to 14 hours. For further information, contact GECOM at 225-027829, 226-6557-8 and 9, 223-9650, or visit our website at www.gecom.org.gy.
Guyana's economy is rapidly transforming, and we're all part of it. Guyana is at the forefront of this development by providing reliable and efficient energy and supporting community development from the very core. 100% of Guyana's profit goes back to building schools, roads, and other important infrastructure that connects our cities and towns, providing fuel to domestic, marine, industrial, and aerial transportation. Guyana has now repositioned itself as a market leader in the petroleum industry, building a better future for all of us.
What was supposed to be a night of celebration turned into disaster after 4 friends who were all drunk left the bar in the city without a designated driver. Designate a driver. Don't drink and drive.
It all starts with one. Maybe it's one look, you know the one, or one touch, even one word. I can start with one step, or one promise, one thrill, one first time, one deep breath, one leap of faith, one day to remember, or one night to forget. One moment, so many stories that make up one crazy, average, everyday, fabulous life. We get one life, just one. Make your move. It all starts with one.
And now for your regional and international news. In the region, Venezuela's government has offered a $100,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of the opposition's exiled presidential candidate Edmundo Gonzalez. In a report, BBC said Gonzalez fled the country in September and was granted political asylum in Spain after Venezuela's authorities ordered his arrest, accusing Gonzalez of conspiracy and of forging documents. Gonzalez had vowed to return to Venezuela before President Nicolas Maduro's inauguration next Friday, accusing the government of rigging the vote. Shortly after the award was announced, Gonzalez said he was traveling to Argentina to begin a tour of Latin America, where he will meet fierce Maduro critic President Javier Milei on Saturday. Over 300,000 migrants crossed the Darien Gap in Panama in 2024, 42% fewer than the record number who made the perilous jungle crossing from South America a year earlier. Panama's migration authorities told Reuters on Thursday the dangerous Darien Gap connects Colombia with the Central American nation of Panama, and increasing numbers of migrants were making the journey north to reach the United States. Panamanian President Jose Molino has taken a harder stance on migration since taking office last July, including fencing parts of the Darien, imposing fines and using flights funded by the United States to deport migrants. Officials with Panama's National Migration Service told Reuters 302,203 migrants crossed the Darien last year, down 42% from the record 520,000 in 2023. And finally tonight, international news. South Korea presidential guards and military troops prevented authorities from arresting impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol on Friday in a tense 6-hour standoff inside Yoon's compound. Reuters, in a report, said Yoon is under criminal investigation for insurrection over his December 3 martial law bid that stunned South Korea and led to the first arrest warrant to be issued for a sitting president. CIO officials and police evaded hundreds of Yoon supporters who gathered in pre-dawn hours near his residence on Friday, who adopted the Stop the Steal slogan popularized by U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's supporters to block the arrest. Officials from the CIO, which is leading a joint team of investigators, arrived at the gates of the presidential compound shortly after 7 a.m. and entered on foot. Once inside the compound, the CIO and police were outnumbered by the Presidential Security Service personnel as well as troops seconded to presidential security, a CIO official told reporters. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Svetlana Marshall reporting and wishing you a safe and enjoyable weekend.